A Georgia man is arrested outside of the Supreme Court on a weapons charge, but hey, don't look over here because, that might go against the narrative. So we won't talk about that. Instead, Liz Truss steps down. This ought to get the misogynists and the liberals fighting over there on Twitter because, the liberals can come out and say, we hated her because she was conservative, and the misogynists can say, haha, shortest prime minister in history is a woman. But we'll talk about both of those and where we go and what goes on from that. In other news, AOC again gets heckled at a town hall, and people come out to tell us that, she's not getting heckled over there because these people are probably not her constituents. And her response is to dance to the chants, so we'll go over some of that and where we go with that. And New York City is set to open a giant tent shelter for migrants, complete with Xbox, sodas, and a host of other activities to keep them busy. It is going to be all this and more. Welcome back to midterm season. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. I think producer Pepe might have to be fired here because he keeps making just stupid little mistakes. Not real big ones, like keeping the microphone off. That's usually me. But little mistakes, like once we get started, not having the computer's audio bar going up off of that. I noted that when Arvold said something about that oh yeah, well, because sometimes when I'm like watching Netflix or something or whatever I'm watching over here, I see the audio bar bouncing. I'm like, I don't want to see that over in the corner of my eye. So I turn it off, and then I get back to here in the morning, and I forget to turn it back on. But anyway, that's not the important part of the day here. Today is an important day because it's Friday, and we get to say a special thank you to everybody who chatted in the live chat. Plus, we've got a host of news to go over before we get to that. I do have a bit of a hard out today, so by about 9:15, we'll probably be wrapping it up. I think we'll start the live chat at about 9, so we can get to that point here. So if you've got something to say in the live chat, make sure that you get it in, because we'll be going over some of the things that you said today, as well as giving a special thank you to everybody who chatted in the live chat over the week here. And I've got all your names written down here, so if you've got a commentary on the news, something didn't make you feel quite right about any of this, or you want something to be said or your name read aloud on air, do keep in mind we are competing with an AM radio audience, so there might be a couple of things that I can't get to with that, but make sure you get your live chat in today and get your voice heard. And before we get started, also make sure you go check out great programming such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, The Porch Boys. Go check out Tweets by Brit, KTZed over on the Twitter side. KTZed was on PJ Patriot last night, so go check that out. And also go check out PJ Patriot, Mr. Behavior, the No Gimmicks podcast, and all of our friends who hope to bring you news, good news or bad news, but news from the common man for the common man. Go check out all those great people. I will vouch for all the people that I named because they're great friends. I love having them around, and I love being around them. So go and check all of them out, and let's get started. Starting with finance, starting with the Dow. The Dow was down 90 points yesterday morning. If it's live chat day, let's get the live chat up, actually, so we can see some of that here. See what you guys are doing and saying, and seeing how spicy you guys get. What kind of lines you want me to cross as we go into the live chat at the end of the day? All right, the Dow was down about 90 points yesterday. It tried to rally itself again and fizzled out. The futures are also turning down because it does look like our Treasury yield is skyrocketing, and people are starting to understand the fact that there is not a GDP to back that up. And once we start to see big 10-year Treasury yields and even 2-year Treasury yields like we're seeing, it does seem like there is a bit of desperation for the government to try to get people to go out and buy the bonds. Please give us money. Please let us borrow money from the people because we're printing it way too fast. And we need to go back and buy it up in another way. We need to go fund ourselves another way. We might not have the tax receipts to do so. I know a lot of people are saying that we might actually have a significant increase in tax receipts this year, which I'm actually not surprised with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act expiring. Yeah, I'm not surprised at all by any of that. And there also may be a downturn in some of this because we have spent an exorbitant amount of money in just this congressional term. And I don't think the tax receipts that they are going to bring in are going to make up for what we've spent. So we'll continue to watch this and see what happens with this. Looking in at your Bitcoin, which fell off a shelf just before I Googled Bitcoin to get the price for the day. Looks like it held steady in the 19,000s range, maybe dropping a little bit below before and coming back up, and then just boom, off a cliff. This has been a few minutes ago, so we'll get a refresh off of this and see where it's at right now. It did try to rally itself back up a little bit after it hit the floor, but Bitcoin is on sale right now at a low price of $18,785.80. Coming out on the 5-day, seeing what it did yesterday. And it does look like there was another significant drop off yesterday, and then just the falter that we see off of that before dropping completely off a cliff. So, hey, if you want some Bitcoin, it's going to get you a good price. I do anticipate that, once we get a turnaround coming back off of this, I do think that Bitcoin it's here to stay. This is not official financial advice, but all the Bitcoin that I get, either by donation or what I buy through Coinbase, which I actually have to set up for a new way to go back and buy because I cut my PayPal, is going to turn out and do quite well with that. I'm pretty sure the Doge the Doge, I do have some of that, and the Shiba are both going to do well as well. But we'll see what happens with that and where we go with that and what happens there. The gas prices coming across Madison area are creeping back up. The BP, that was the low price leader, is up to $3.69. The quick trips on the far east and far west are still at $3.46, and we're seeing $3.50 on the Isthmus. So a little bit of up, not a lot. Not every station has reported a raise right now, but some of them have. So it might be time to go off and top off that tank because it does look like we are going to see possibly a rise. But we'll continue to watch this every day and try to track where it's going versus the national dollar and what's happening there. So that's what we see coming up of that. Let's see what IBD has to say for the morning. On the markets, Dow futures fall as yields keep rising. Twitter falls on latest Elon Musk twist. Oh, this will be interesting. I didn't even see that. From Ed Carson, Dow futures fell early Friday along with the S&P and the NASDAQ futures, with Treasury yields continuing to surge. Another snap meltdown and reports of possible security review of Tesla CEO Elon Musk's Twitter deal are also in focus. Oh, so the government's getting involved in this, and that's what's making this harder. Because the government makes everything harder. You know what this really kind of sounds like to me? This sounds a lot more like they tried to force Elon in, so he was going to come out and buy it. They tried to get him to blink. So now he's court ordered to buy it. Now the government's going to stand in the way so they can go back and try to financially ruin Elon Musk. That's what a lot more of this sounds like than anything else. The stock market rally attempt started Thursday strong but shed gains, hitting a key resistance as Treasury yields kept running higher on fresh economic data. Snapchat parent Snap plunged yet again on mixed results, and no guidance weighing on fellow social media firms Meta and Pinterest. Twitter was unaffected by Snap's sell-off due to Musk's looming takeover, but early Friday, Twitter stock fell on a report that Biden admin is mulling security reviews of various Musk deals, including the $44 billion takeover. Yeah, this sounds like a setup to me. In Thursday's session, Tesla tumbled to a 16-month low following mixed earnings and mixed signals late on Wednesday. Tech titans Apple, Microsoft, Alphabet, Meta Platforms, Amazon, and Nvidia all hit resistance in their 21-day moving averages, just like the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq. All are heavily damaged, but with most not far from recent lows. While the rally attempt continues, this is still a bear market until proven otherwise. Investors should be wary of making any new buys in the current environment. On Snapchat, Snap topped third quarter earnings views, but revenue rose less than 6%, a record low and just below consensus, but the Snapchat parent won't provide guidance. Despite a $500 million buyback announcement, Snap stock plunged 29% in the pre-market trading. That's after crashing 43% and 39% respectively after the prior two earnings reports. Meta, which reports next Wednesday, fell modestly in extended trade. Pinterest sold off after reversing lower at the 50-day and 200-day lines Thursday. Both report next week. On your earnings early Friday, oilfield services agent Schlumberger reported better than expected quarter 3 earnings. Schlumberger stock rose modestly before the open. Schlumberger is moving up the right side of 38% deep cup base, but isn't actionable yet. American Express beat EPS views, but slightly missed some revenue forecasts. American Express reaffirmed a full-year revenue target. American Express stock fell solidly before the open, but not far from bear market lows. Verizon topped quarterly EPS and sales views, though wireless subscriber gains fell short. Verizon stock fell modestly Friday, not far from lows. On the futures, the Dow fell 0.75%, with American Express and Verizon drags on blue chips. The S&P fell 0.8%, and the Nasdaq fell 1.2%, with Meta stock being a drag. The 10-year yield rose 8 points to 4.31. The dollar moved past 150 yen, a 32-year high for the greenback. Crude oil futures edged higher, while natural gas slumped nearly 5%, which I still don't understand entirely. Remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. So that's what's happening on your markets here. Let's look at the housing market. For those of you who are looking at your expensive mortgage or expensive rent and decide you might want to stake your claim somewhere else, the Daily Wire presents us with some data on here are the states with the most affordable housing markets. Prediction, because I haven't read this yet. All flyover corn country west of the Mississippi. Let's take a look. From Ben Ziesloft. Home buyers in Appalachia and the Deep South are currently seeing the best deals. Oh, I was wrong. According to a study from luxury real estate agency Ruby Home. In the second quarter of 2022, the median sale price of a home in the U.S. was $440,300. Wow. According to data from the Department of Housing and Urban Development, marking a 36% rise from $322,600 in the second quarter of 2020. The analysis by Ruby Home, however, found that the average home price in West Virginia is a mere $75 per square foot. The data offers a fascinating insight into the disparities in house prices and affordability, a spokesman for Ruby Home said in a statement provided to the Daily Wire. West Virginia stands out at the top despite having one of the lowest average household incomes in America. Indeed, although typical household income in West Virginia is relatively low, $65,332. The average house price of $129,103 implies that residents are witnessing an income to cost ratio of 50.6%. Residents in Mississippi and Arkansas, where families earn $65,136 and $69,357 respectively, are seeing house prices of $157 and $169, $157,828 and $169,867 respectively, implying income to cost ratios of 41.3% and 40.8%. The study comes as the American housing market witnesses turmoil due to the variety of economic factors, including supply chain bottlenecks and labor shortages. The other states in the top 10, Oklahoma, Kentucky, Alabama, Kansas, Louisiana, Iowa, and Indiana, are predominantly located in the Midwest and South. Alright, let's check my work. West of the Mississippi, you have Oklahoma, Kansas, Louisiana, and Iowa. So I was completely wrong, and I will be the first one to admit it. Meanwhile, the 30-year fixed mortgage rate has remained below 3% for much of the past 2 years, according to data from the government-backed mortgage company, Freddie Mac. Since the beginning of the year, however, the rate has surged from just over 3% to reach 6.9%, including a jump of nearly 1% in less than a month. Home builder confidence has dropped to half what it was just 6 months ago, and construction, particularly single-family residential construction, continues to slow down, Freddie Mac chief economist Sam Cater said in a statement. So, if you want a good deal on a house, West Virginia is your low price leader, or Mississippi, or you could try Oklahoma, although I know that one of you already lives there. Kentucky, Alabama, Kansas, Louisiana, Iowa, which I know one of you also lives there, and Indiana, predominantly in the Midwest and South. So that's what we see off of that. Hey, maybe I will go pick up 100 acres of cornfield for $20 in Iowa. But then I'd have to go make corn, wouldn't I? I don't know. That's what we see off of that. If you guys want to pick up one of the issues, though, with this, by the way, and I will note this. For some of you in higher income states, and I see that Fanning is in the chat over there, he's definitely one of them. Yes, you have a home that's worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. But you also have an income to match that. When you go to places like this, even doing the same kind of job, I would challenge you to go and be able to fetch the same kind of wage that you're getting in a high cost of living area. Do keep that in mind. Your wage will probably sink or rise depending on where you live. I noted that in Massachusetts when I lived there. Doing the same kind of work, which at the time when I left Kenosha, I was doing deli work at, I think, $6.80 an hour. And when I lived in Massachusetts, that wasn't even covering the minimum wage. The minimum wage was $7.25, and it actually jumped while I was out there, and they had to jump my wage too, because the wage that I was making above minimum wage, but not by very much. When they redid the minimum wage, my above minimum wage job became a below minimum wage job, so they had to bump me up right away because of the state minimum wage. I think they jumped it up in the state to like $8.15 or something. Something ridiculous like that. And I was making $7.65, which was above the $7.25 that it was at the time. Remember, at that time in 2008, federal minimum wage was still $5.15. So, there are things to keep in mind with that, and that's another thing too. $15 an hour in Massachusetts doesn't go anywhere close to as far as $15 an hour here. So, that's what we have for that. Let's get into the main news of the day. No, I'm not going to start with what most people would think is the main news of the day, and that's the fact that Liz Truss stepped down because, well, A, that doesn't really affect me as much as Politico tries to tell me that it affects me, and B, this story got completely glossed over yesterday. And I'm pretty sure we all know why. But we're going to start today with CNN. U.S. Capitol Police arrest driver after clearing suspicious vehicle near Supreme Court. From Whitney Wild. Of course, the Capitol Police has a brand new 250. Stripped down, of course, but of course they have a brand new 250. Why wouldn't they? And it's crew cab, too. Capitol Police officers on Wednesday arrested an 80-year-old man from Georgia after he admitted he had guns in his vehicle, according to the agency. Tony Payne of Tunnel Hill, Georgia, was charged with unregistered firearm, unregistered ammunition, and carrying a pistol without a license, U.S. Capitol Police said in a statement on Wednesday evening. Around 3:45 p.m., USCP officers noted the van was illegally parked along the 100 block of East Capitol Street, USCP said in a statement. The driver told us he had guns in the van. A canine also hit on the vehicle. Officers found 2 handguns and a shotgun inside a white van. Police said a pipe and containers were also found in the vehicle, according to the statement, so USCP Hazardous Incident Response Division searched and cleared the van. Weapons are banned from U.S. Capitol grounds. In addition, the driver, authorities detained a man and a woman during their search of the van. CNN, citing a source earlier, reported that the 3 were arrested on charges, but the USCP said later Wednesday that the other man and woman who had been detained were not arrested in the incident. The individuals told our investigators they were here to deliver documents to the U.S. Supreme Court, the USCP said in a statement. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Documents, yes. Earlier Wednesday, USCP had closed off several streets in the area of the U.S. Supreme Court while responding to what the agency called a suspicious vehicle and cautioned people to please stay away from the area. One more here on this. We'll see if we can get some extra details off of this, and then we'll comment on it, of course. Georgia man arrested on gun charges near Capitol allegedly told police he was there to deliver documents to the Supreme Court. From Zoe Richards. A Georgia man was arrested on a weapons charge Wednesday after police said they found 2 handguns and a shotgun in a van that he was driving in Washington, D.C. with plans to deliver documents to the Supreme Court. U.S. Capitol Police said they arrested Tony H. Payne, 80, of Tunnel Hill, who faces 3 charges: unregistered firearm, unregistered ammunition, and carrying a pistol without a license. Authorities said they first noticed an illegally parked vehicle on Capitol grounds and then arrested Payne after. They alleged he admitted to having firearms in the van. Weapons are prohibited in Capitol grounds. A hazardous incident response team conducted a more detailed search of the van after a pipe and containers were found inside. Capitol Police said they later said the items did not pose a threat. Police say they detained Payne and his 2 companions, another man and woman, during the search. Capitol Police said in a news release the individuals told our investigators they were here to deliver documents to the U.S. Supreme Court, which is near the Capitol. Let me ask you a question. Given the fact that, for most of you, this is probably the first time you heard this story, what do you think this particular person's political affiliation is? Somebody has weapons on the Capitol, near the Supreme Court, and the world completely glossed over it. Here's a better question. Where is Tunnel Hill? It looks like it is just off 75. Just shortly after you get into Georgia. So that actually could go either way, because that is in the Marjorie Taylor Greene district. But regardless, what do you think this person's affiliation was? Where he's that close to the Capitol with a gun, getting ready to go into the Supreme Court. Can anybody tell me? I have an idea. I don't know, because they didn't release the details, but oddly enough, a lot of the time when they don't release the details like that, you still know. I would say we'll continue to follow the story and see what happens with it, but I'm going to tell you right now, this is probably going to be the last time you ever heard about any of this. Alright, let's go talk about Liz Truss. Starting with C-SPAN. British Prime Minister Truss Liz resignation statement. We have 1.5 minute video, and that's her speech saying that she is stepping down. So let's listen.
Yeah, with her husband.
I came into office at a time of great economic and international instability. Families and businesses were worried about how to pay their bills. Putin's illegal war in Ukraine threatens the security of our whole continent, and our country has been held back for too long by low economic growth. I was elected by the Conservative Party with a mandate to change this. We delivered on energy bills and on cutting national insurance. And we set out a vision for a low-tax, high-growth economy that would take advantage of the freedoms of Brexit. I recognise, though, given the situation, I cannot deliver the mandate on which I was elected by the Conservative Party. I have therefore spoken to His Majesty the King to notify him that I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party. This morning I met the chairman of the 1922 committee, Sir Graham Brady. We've agreed that there will be a leadership election to be completed within the next week. This will ensure that we remain on a path to deliver our fiscal plans and maintain our country's economic stability and national security. I will remain as Prime Minister until a successor has been chosen. Thank you.
So, that is the speech. And Liz Truss is no more. A couple things about that before we get into the articles. Because of the way that British Parliament and the Prime Ministry works, there's not going to be a new election for this, because the party that's in power chooses the Prime Minister. So what we will be getting back out of this is another person from the British Conservative Party, which is far, far to the left of our Conservative Party. So, not a lot's going to change, except for the fact that we now have a new record for the shortest prime ministry in British history. Surprise, surprise! It's a woman. Maybe they'll get Sadiq Khan to do it. No, they won't get him to do that. He's not one of them. He's not one of their party. But that's what we see for that. Let's read from the Associated Press. Truss quits, but UK's political and economic turmoil persist. From Jill Lawless. British Prime Minister Liz Truss quit Thursday after a tumultuous and historically brief term marred by some economic policies that roiled financial markets and a rebellion in her political party that obliterated her authority. After just 45 days in office, Truss became the third Conservative Prime Minister to be toppled in as many years, and she will go down as the shortest-serving leader in British history. Her resignation extends the instability that has shaken Britain since it broke off from the European Union and leaves the leadership in limbo as the country faces a cost of living crisis and a looming recession. Is it a looming recession, or are they already in one like we are? I cannot deliver the mandate on which I was elected by the Conservative Party, Truss 47 said outside her 10 Downing Street office. Financial markets breathed a sigh of relief, but now a divided ruling party must quickly find a leader who can unify its warring factions. Truss said that she will remain in office until a replacement is chosen, which the Conservative Party said it would do by the end of next week. An extremely fast timeline for choosing the next leader of one of the world's largest economies. Potential contenders include former Treasury Chief Rishi Sunak, who lost to Truss in the last leadership contest, House of Commons leader Penny Mordaunt, Defense Secretary Ben Wallace, and Boris Johnson, the former Prime Minister ousted in July over a series of ethics scandals. Why do I have this feeling they're probably going to put him back in? I don't know why, I just have this funny feeling he's going to be back at that seat. The low tax, low regulation economic policies that got Truss elected by her party proved disastrous in the real world at a time of soaring inflation and weak growth. Her September 23rd economic plan included a raft of tax cuts that investors worried Britain couldn't afford. Yeah, but taxation is theft, so it pummeled the value of the pound and drove up the cost of mortgages, causing economic pain for people and businesses already struggling from an economy yet to emerge from the pain of pandemic. That financial tumult led to the replacement of Truss's Treasury Chief, multiple policy U-turns, and a breakdown of discipline in the governing Conservative Party. Truss resigned just a day after vowing to stay in power, saying that she was a fighter and not a quitter. But she couldn't hold on any longer after a senior minister quit her government amid a barrage of criticism, and a vote in the House of Commons Wednesday descended into chaos and acrimony. It's time for the Prime Minister to go, Conservative lawmaker Miriam Cates said, echoing the sentiments of many others. Before Truss, the shortest living Prime Minister in Britain had been George Canning, who died in office in 1827 after 119 days. The pound rose about 1% on Thursday to around $113 US after Truss's resignation. Where the Conservative Party goes from here is not clear. It's a myriad factions, from hard-right Brexiteers to centrist One Nation Tories, are at each other's throats. Nobody has a route plan. It's all sort of hand-to-hand fighting right now. On a day-to-day basis, Conservative lawmaker Simon Hoare told the BBC on Thursday before Truss resigned. Newspapers that usually support the Conservatives were vitriolic. An editorial in the Daily Mail on Thursday was headlined, "The wheels have come off the Tory clown car." Truss's departure on Thursday sparked jubilation for the tabloid Daily Star, which had set up a live stream last week featuring a photo of the Prime Minister beside a head of lettuce to see which would last longer. This lettuce outlasted Liz Truss, it proclaimed on Thursday. While many Britons joined the world in laughing at the lettuce joke, Bronwyn Maddox, director of international affairs think tank Chatham House, said, "There's no question that the UK's standing in the world has been severely battered by this episode and by this revolving door of prime ministers." Well, I would say that the UK's standing in the world has been severely battered by the fact that you've gone from controlling a third of the world's land to a tiny island just off of the English Channel. She said Truss's successor would need to have policies based on economic stability, but need also to include a resolution of the relationship with Europe, much of the upheaval represents the bitter aftermath of Brexit. The Conservative Party said nominations for a new leader will close on Monday. Candidates need the signatures of 100 of the 357 Conservative lawmakers, meaning a maximum field of 3. Lawmakers will knock out one of those and will ask the party's 172,000 members to decide between the two finalists in an online vote. The new leader is due to be in place by October 28th. So is this like American Idol, where you can go up and vote up to 5 times? I don't know. But Truss is out. We've got a British op-ed from Politico. The Brexit cult that blew up Britain. From Emilio Casaliccio and Jack Blanchard. It was a revolution that began 11 long years ago in the making. For a small but vocal band of right-wing libertarians, Liz Truss's appointment as UK Prime Minister on September 6th seemed the triumphant endpoint of an epic and improbable march that led them from the fringes of British politics to Whitehall's grandest corridors of power. Here we go. Blaming the libertarians. In the course of just over a decade, a group of little-known politicians, fringe think tanks, and outspoken media figures had helped drag the Tory party and the nation it led from David Cameron's vision of so-called compassionate conservatism, hugging Huskies and all, to a Brexit-backing, free market-embracing, low-tax juggernaut. It took them 4 Tory prime ministers, 4 general elections, and an era-defining referendum to do it. But with Truss in charge, they were finally living their dream. The country was able to be remade in their image. It lasted 44 chaotic days and no more. They felt the moment had come at last, said Tim Bale, professor of politics at Queen Mary University in London. This would prove that Brexit had been a ghastly mistake, but a fantastic opportunity. But of course, as it was always based on a fantasy, it was always bound to collide with reality. Truss was elected Conservative leader and so UK Prime Minister. Last month, the votes of just 81,000 party members, a group large enough to defeat her more centrist opponent, Rishi Sunak, but still small enough to fit comfortably inside of Wembley Stadium, home of the England football team. This band of true blue believers had been wooed by her heady promises of a low-tax, low-regulation state that would embrace the opportunities provided by Brexit. But as soon as Truss started to put her promises into action via a mini-budget on September 23rd, which included tens of billions of pounds in unfunded tax cuts, alongside a massive energy subsidy scheme, the markets began sliding into turmoil. Within days it was clear Truss had triggered an economic crisis, and one that sent the Conservative poll ratings tumbling along with the value of the pound. Her MPs, facing electoral oblivion, were terrified. In the weeks that followed, Truss was forced to sack her Chancellor, Kwasi Kwarteng, and U-turn most of their economic program in a desperate bid to stabilize the markets. This week, her Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, followed Kwarteng out the door. Her MPs became mutinous, some publicly demanding her head, some support rapidly drained away. On Thursday, after a disastrous attempt to force her MPs to vote against their own manifesto, pledged not to restart fracking projects around the UK, she accepted the game was up. Which is really stupid, by the way. Truss's disastrous 6 weeks in power were an abject humiliation for the Prime Minister herself, of course, but also for the libertarian right of the Conservative movement, which had fought its corner for years. I don't want to be conspiratorial about this, but I've got this feeling that there was more going on to this than just bad economic policy, especially when it comes to the markets. I don't know entirely how the British markets work compared to ours. I don't know entirely how ours work. But if they work anything like ours, I have to anticipate at this point that there might have been a sell-off that came just based on the fact that they didn't like Liz Truss, and they didn't like the fact that the taxpayer funding was going to be going down. Or the fracking. That's another aspect of this. Which again, that in and of itself, the home fracking that Liz Truss had mentioned, that actually seems like a really good idea to me, given the fact that, the Nord Stream got blown up, given the fact that you can't get all that sweet, sweet natural gas coming over from Russia, when you can't get it from somewhere else, it's time to go back to try to find a way to get it on your own. I would think that's how I would do things. And I do have to wonder if there might not have been some sabotage in there to make sure that that this person who had ideas that went outside of the majority establishment wasn't allowed to succeed. And I'm not sure where this goes next either, but we'll see what happens with that. A little bit of market news off of this, not much, but a little bit. Sterling dips after Truss resigns. Fragile yen weakens past 150 level. Coming to CNBC from Reuters. Sterling edged lower on Friday as investors digested the news that the British Prime Minister Liz Truss had quit after just 6 weeks in office, while the Japanese yen languished near a fresh 32-year low. The pound dipped 0.21% to $1 and 12 US cents in early Asian trade after a brief rally to a high of 113.38 in the previous session after Truss announced her resignation. I think it was a knee-jerk reaction to at least a temporary easing of UK political uncertainty. I think markets for now are pretty happy about the news, said Carol Kong, currency strategist at the Commonwealth Bank of Australia. But the news that we heard only removed some, but not all of the political uncertainty in the UK economy, and we'll still hear more on the fiscal policy front at the end of this month. The euro fell 0.15% to 97 US cents, almost 98 US cents, after tracking the move in sterling to an overnight high of 98.455 cents. Meanwhile, the yen last bought 150.20 per dollar after hitting a fresh 32-year low of 150.29 overnight. It has lost nearly 1% this week and is on track for a 10th straight weekly loss. So, a few things to see with that and a few things to digest as we look over to our friends to the east. But Politico wants to remind you, yes, the Liz Truss debacle matters for Americans. I didn't pre-read this. I'm not sure why this matters for Americans, but I'm curious. You've caught my attention, Politico. Let's see what you have to say. From Ryan Heath. Queen Elizabeth II lasted more than 7 decades on the job. The reign of Elizabeth Truss lasted less than 7 weeks. Trussonomics, the idea that unfunded tax cuts could revive a nation, was dead within 7 days. The so-called special relationship between the US and the UK has survived wars, and is not fundamentally at risk regardless of who occupies Downing Street. So is there any reason for Americans to care about the chaos in Britain? Aside from gaining satisfaction from knowing that there are other countries with a messed up democracy, here are 4 ways the departure of Liz Truss matters for Americans. Prediction, because I haven't pre-read this article. A lot of this is going to deal in the fact that a lot of our conservatives want a tax cut over here too. One, the second coming of Boris Johnson. The rallying cry of the Conservative Party base is bring back Boris. Johnson's not certain to return, but he's the bookmaker's second favorite, reflecting an extraordinary turn of events for a politician chased out of office in July. Back then, Johnson was derided as an unethical liar by many of his colleagues, the senior civil servants, and the broader public. Well, I mean, he's a politician, so of course he's an unethical liar. Former Chancellor Rishi Sunak is Johnson's top rival for the Downing Street keys. Given Johnson's ability to dominate the media and charm his colleagues, his chances are likely to increase as the race wears on. But Johnson's resurrection would leave the White House in an awkward position. President Biden couldn't bring himself to name-check Johnson when he departed Downing Street. The snippy send-off was the culmination of years of Biden frustration at Johnson. Johnson suggested former President Obama's part Kenyan ancestry predisposed him to a dislike of the British Empire. He compared Hillary Clinton to a sadistic nurse in a mental hospital. And he not only supported Brexit, but appeared willing to risk Irish border arrangements and therefore peace in Ireland as a political bargaining chip. But Conservative MPs don't have the White House top of mind when their own careers are at stake, and around 200 of the 357-strong caucus would lose their jobs if an election were called tomorrow. The choice is unemployment or Boris Johnson. Many MPs will likely choose Johnson. Getting there would require the request of more than 100 MPs. If more than 2 candidates reach the threshold, then the Conservative Party members would pick their preferred Prime Minister. If only one reaches the threshold, they are crowned the winner. King Charles then asked the winner to form a government. Again, I don't necessarily understand how the British political system works, but I would believe that would be King Charles's, that'd be his responsibility to form a government, wouldn't that? Central banks can trump governments and markets like it. Watch for this, by the way. This is going to be an important one for 2024 and possibly for 2022 as well, by the way. Because investors, and that's why I question whether or not there was some sabotage that went along with this, because investors in our country can look at this and say, oh, well, we don't like Kevin McCarthy being the Speaker of the House. Sell, sell, sell. Markets called many of the shots in the prime ministerial resignation. Have you been checking your 401k balance lately? It likely didn't appreciate the balance you saw. That isn't Liz Truss's fault, but she certainly didn't help it. Beyond investor fears about recession, inflation, supply chains, and nuclear war, markets simply didn't trust the unfunded tax cuts that formed the basis of Trussonomics. The plans, announced September 23rd, spooked financial markets. They punished the pound, drove up Britain's cost of borrowing, and pushed the nation's pension funds to the brink of collapse. The only thing that calmed the markets was the Bank of England promising to buy up to $70 billion of government debt. Now the end of Truss and short-lived Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng's control of Britain's purse strings permanently removes the risk factor from the investment strategies in financial centers from New York to Hong Kong. The Bank of England blew through nearly as much cash as Truss would have if she had had the time to implement her tax cut plan. Unlike Truss, Bank Governor Andrew Bailey still has his job. Next one, parties can move away from their extreme wings. It took a monumental crisis, but the British Conservatives junked their traditional systems for electing their leader to deal with the Truss crisis. The bad news is you'll be stuck hearing about the race to replace Truss for the next 2 weeks. The good news is, if you're frustrated with the direction of Americans' Democrats or Republicans, parties in major democracies can perform serious surgery on themselves to preserve their electoral viability. The Tories could sink themselves for a generation, the conservative magazine The Spectator editorialized today. MPs have a choice to fight each other to the death or unite to salvage what they can. But see, the extremes on the left in our political system are now the mainstream. Government care from cradle to grave. If you don't like it, you're a racist and a bigot. Meanwhile, they call the Donald a mild reformer, a political extremist. And your window for a cheap British holiday is closing. After falling to parity with the US dollar in late September in the depths of the Trussonomic tax cut debacle, the pound has steadily increased in value over the past 2 weeks. The pound rose when Truss and Kwarteng backflipped on his policy to cut the top rate of income tax from 45 to 40. The pound rose further when Kwarteng was fired and replaced by Jeremy Hunt, who proceeded to dump the rest of the tax plan, including the corporate tax cuts. And finally, the pound rose again as Truss was giving her resignation speech. For every $1,000 you would have spent on a holiday in Britain booked 2 weeks ago, you would spend $1,120 now. Bon voyage. Yeah. And again, from 45 to 40, that's a mild reform. If Truss was some sort of extremist, that would have been 45 to 0. Let's be realistic here. They didn't like the fact that somebody was cutting taxes, cutting the amount of money that's coming into the British purse, and the markets punished her for that. Alright, that's what's happening on the other side of the pond. I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I don't care as much as Politico said that I was going to. Let's talk Biden. I know we got to be starting to wind down already here, going on. Twitter stock is trending too. That's interesting. Laura's for Trump tweets out, "Oh my God, Joe has lost again. He has no idea what's happening." Let's watch. I've watched this video. I've pre-watched this video, but I haven't listened to it. I watched it with no audio. So whatever we hear from right now is going to be a surprise to me. So, who did he salute over there? And by the way, I think I have a better song than the one that they did there, but that's my first question is, and the camera is cut. I will give full admission to that. I don't know if there's somebody standing over there off camera. It's kind of, even as they pan out, it's kind of hard to tell just based on the direction that he was facing. But he saluted over that direction. And I don't see anybody that he saluted to. But in good fashion, I can do this with a better backdrop music. Votes, folks. 10 scoops of ice cream. Most popular president in history. More votes than even Barack Obama. He made another gaffe throughout this, by the way. Talking to John Fetterman's wife. And Giselle, you're going to be a great, great lady in the Senate. Which I want to see. Now, the meme that... Oh, yeah, there's the meme for that. So, I know you got a glimpse of it right there, but we'll scroll down and look at that. But first, we'll listen to what Biden had to say to Giselle.
For running, I really do appreciate it. And Giselle, you're gonna be a great lady in the Senate. As I said before, that America's the only... For running, I really do appreciate it. And Giselle, you're gonna be.
So the question there is Fetterman actually going to be, or is he going to be the stand-in, the steward, and Giselle's going to be calling all the shots? And there is, by the way, what the Democrats are offering. They have a gift for you. Fetterman. They will give Fetterman to the NPCs of Pennsylvania. But inside, is that Giselle's agenda? I don't know. And another one here because reporters actually caught up with him and got him to talk. Just outside of Marine One. Reporter, should there be any restrictions on abortion at all? Yes, there should be. What should they be? It's Roe versus Wade. Read it, man. You'll get educated.
Should there be any restrictions on abortion at all? Any restrictions on abortion at all?
Yes, there should be.
What should they be?
And Roe v. Wade. Read it, man. You'll get educated.
No, I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
Should there be any restrictions on abortion at all? Any restrictions on abortion at all?
Yes, there should be.
What should they be?
And Roe v. Wade. Read it, man. You'll get educated.
No, I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
Come.
Should there be any
Read it, man.
Any restrictions on abortion at all? Any restrictions on abortion at all?
Yes, there should be.
What should they be?
And Roe v. Wade. Read it, man. You'll get educated.
No,
This guy has no idea what's going on. Oh, they did put the lump on the neck. I thought that was just the mane on the horse, on the Trojan horse. Maybe the lump on the neck is just where Giselle feeds her lines out to him. I have not pre-watched this ad either, but the Daily Wire reports Democrat group releases bizarre midterm ad complete with dark Brandon memes praising student debt cancellation. From Ben Ziesloft. I bet you this is going to be classic. Alright, so let's read a little bit about this, and that looks like we have the ad right here. Building Back Together, a lobbying group that promotes the agenda of President Biden, will spend 6 figures on a midterm advertisement campaign highlighting the Commander-in-Chief's decision to nix student loan debt. The White House announced 2 months ago the Department of Education would cancel $10,000 in student debt for millions of borrowers earning less than $125,000 per year, which goes against equal protection, by the way, as well as $20,000 for students who attended a college via a Pell Grant. The advertisement promoting the policy is designed to reach young borrowers in Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. That's probably a quote from the ad. Featuring electronic dance music and remix commentary from various cable news outlets, the advertisement rapidly flips between distorted images of the White House and Biden, while emphasizing that students will receive either $10,000 or $20,000 in their pockets, which is false. It will go to their respective financial institutions. The video also features the Dark Brandon meme, which attempts to portray Biden as gritty and tough. Gritty and tough. Gritty and tough. Alright, let's watch this cringe fest and see what it looks like.
Forgive student loan debt.
Biden, admin, 10K in my pocket, 10K in my pocket.
For Pell Grant recipients, that goes up to $20,000.
20K in my pocket, 20K in my pocket. Website. 10K in my pocket, 20K in my pocket.
What? I don't know what just happened there. We're going to try that again because I have no idea what just happened there.
The White House kicking off its efforts to forgive student loan debt.
Biden, admin, 10K in my pocket, 10K in my pocket.
For Pell Grant recipients, that goes up to $20,000.
20K in my pocket, 20K in my pocket. Website. 10K in my pocket, 20K in my pocket.
I gotta start pre-watching some of this stuff. I really do. I would still have subjected you to that, don't get me wrong, but... So I'm not that blown away in public. Let's go to AOC. Because she had another instance there. Danny De Urbina tweets out, AOC dances to protesters chanting, AOC has got to go at an event in her district tonight. How absolutely humiliating. Let's watch. That's not my commentary of that. That's his. But I can't say that I wouldn't have said the same thing. How absolutely humiliating. Let's watch it. And Anarcho-Dataism says, curious as of context here, my guess is those are not her constituents, and you're a shameless liar. Especially if Freedom News TV has anything to do with it. No, I'm pretty sure this is her constituency.
Very classy. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Are running up the streets of New York because of people like you. Come on, AOC, answer the question.
And the worst part of it is, like, she doesn't give a damn about these people in her district because she doesn't give a damn about her district. And that's well known. She does not care. She does not care 1 ounce about her district. Because she knows that she can go get Justice Dem money and still get reelected. And in spite of all these protests against her. Because everybody knows at this point that she sold out. She got in there. She got bought off by the big DC players. For probably a lot less than what you would think that she got bought off for. But she got bought off by all the big DC players, and, you know, now she's, oh, well, Papi, I can do whatever I want, okay? You're just still going to vote for me, and the worst part is, I don't think this is enough to oust her from her seat. Especially since it appears she's probably already won her primary. I'm sure that the primary process in New York City is done and gone long, long ago. Who's going to stand up against her in a D plus 40 district? Who's going to stand up against her and win in that district? She doesn't have to do a damn thing. And she can take that sweet bribe and vote for the war and vote to kill the energy and thumb her nose at these people. A little bit of follow-up on this from the New York Post. AOC busts a move after protesters crash town hall. Sometimes you just gotta dance. Drumming protesters crashed another town hall event hosted by far-left rep Alexandria Ocasio-Chavez, D-Twitch, Wednesday night, with the squad member eventually bopping along to the rhythmic chants. Video of the protest in Queens showed demonstrators chanting AOC has got to go and holding up signs denouncing the 33-year-old congresswoman, while a man with a hand drum pounds out a beat. The loud jeering and chanting left Ocasio-Cortez with nothing better to do than show off her moves, while she sat on the edge of a stage. At one point, the lawmaker appeared to spot a sign in the crowd reading, "Wake up, New York, vote for Tina Forte, AOC. Very classy. Okay, Papi. Thank you, sir. Ocasio-Cortez said of the sign referencing her Republican opponent. Chavez later tried to reason with the angry demonstrators and get them to quiet down and engage in a conversation. Respectfully, ma'am, you're saying, ask us why. Y'all been talking for 20 minutes, okay, puppy? We know why. We know you're mad. Let's talk about it, okay? Her plea didn't work as a female protester that then began hurling obscene remarks at the congresswoman. It's okay, Chavez. My kitchen is still there for you. As if things couldn't get any worse for the Democrat, the lights in the auditorium went out, and Chavez had to be escorted off the stage. When the lights came back on after about a minute, AOC joked, "I'm not allowed to be in a room with the lights turned off, okay, puppy?" Hecklers also interrupted a Chavez town hall last week, accusing the congresswoman of voting to start a nuclear war with Russia because of her support for sending military aid to Ukraine. Chavez is heavily favored to win a third term in the deep blue 14th Congressional, which she carried with 70% of the vote in 2020. And that's the worst part of it, because they're probably right. Some news that, the evil Trump justices, the evil Trump justices that are going to block everything. The Supreme Court denies a request to block Biden's student loan forgiveness plan. I'm going to see what Axios has to say about this, but I am actually going to weigh in myself on something like this because, as far as I know, this is not an accurate statement. From Jacob Knudsen. Amy Coney Barrett on Thursday turned down a conservative Wisconsin tax group's request for the court to block President Biden's student loan forgiveness plan. Barrett dismissed the case for lacking standing, ruling the act of paying taxes did not give the Brown County Taxpayers Association grounds to challenge the action taken by the federal government in this instance. The group, based in Green Bay, first sued Biden, Cardona, and the Education Department over the forgiveness on October 4th, and applied for an emergency injunction from the Supreme Court against it on Wednesday. It argued that its application that the Biden admin had overstepped its executive powers in proposing going forward with the plan. Barrett wrote the Supreme Court does not allow lawsuits on federal taxpayer standing if it pertains to Congress's taxing and spending power, but said the exception is extremely narrow. Notwithstanding the fact that the exception to the general rule against federal taxpayer standing has been sharply limited and criticized, plaintiffs seek to take advantage of and expand that narrow exception, she wrote. This court certainly has no authority to do so. And of course it's Axios, so they can't go out and praise Barrett. Yes, but Barrett said the case raised a substantial question as to whether the plaintiff could demonstrate that it will suffer irreparable harm from the program, though she said this was not an issue before the court at this time. However, if the plaintiff did have standing and could prove that it will suffer irreparable harm from the program and that the Biden admin lacks the authority to void student debts in this way, the plan would be void or voidable, she wrote. If that is so, the future admin may not be bound by such actions and may seek to collect the purportedly forgiven debts, she wrote. Because plaintiff lacks standing, issue is not before the courts at this time. Those seeking to take advantage of the program, however, may wish to consider this possibility before placing undue reliance on the benefits promised. Okay. There may be another standing issue. Now, it does look like Barrett's issue with standing is the fact that the people who are filing the lawsuit are not directly affected by this. And that's a possibility. But one thing that I do want to point out is at this point, I have yet to even hear of any sort of actual plan, an executive action, anything on this. I've seen no documentation of what's going to be. It's just all that I've seen on this so far, and if it's out there, absolutely tell me. Provide me with a link of the executive action that does so. But all I've seen is a janky website, because it's a government website that's popped up, and a speech on a stage. No legislation, no EO, nothing like that. Just a speech on a stage. And if there is no actual pending EO or legislation, then at that point also, plaintiff would lack standing. And a question that I have with this comes up to what Barrett put through this. The Supreme Court doesn't allow lawsuits on federal taxpayer standing if it pertains to Congress's taxing and spending power, but said the exception is extremely narrow. There are some other problems that I have with this decision, the way that it's written or presented to me by Axios. And that is the fact that the federal taxation is not in question. That would be a congressional issue. Now, the federal government imposing an income on people, that will then affect their state taxation. I would say that the residents of the state would have standing in something like that. Absolutely. But before anybody can have standing, we actually have to have a documented executive order or legislation. And I think that is important with this because, once again, the big one that I note here is that, yes, we have the website up and running. You can go apply right now, but there doesn't seem to be any sort of documented ability to go back and have anything actually happen from it. You see. Which I'm sure, again, they're waiting till after the midterms to drop it. So that they can come back and say, "Aw, shucky darns. Oh, darn. No. Darn. Those evil Republicans blocked it. So I guess you can't have your student loan debt because you didn't vote the right way in the midterms. You were too concerned about the price of gas. Can't do it. Sorry." From CBS, and I think we're actually going to have to cut it off here once we finish up with this, because I do have a hard out for the day and we still need to do live chat. New York City to open giant tent shelter for migrants being bussed in from the southern border states. A complex of giant tents built on the island is set to open Wednesday as New York City's latest temporary shelter for an influx of international migrants bussed to the city by southern border states. The Humanitarian Relief Center on Randall's Island is intended to be a temporary way station for single adult men, many from Venezuela, who've been arriving several times per week on buses chartered predominantly from Texas. How long before that's full? Randall's Island, let's see where that is. It's like it is Randall's and Ward's Island is what it's called. It's in the East River. And it does not look like there's a lot of space there either. I hate to say this, but just from looking at the map and seeing what 1,000 feet is, this is probably going to fill up pretty quickly. But that sounds like a problem for future Eric Adams. Must suck to be that guy. Spartan and utilitarian, the tent includes cots for up to 500 people, laundry, a dining hall, and phones for residents to make international calls. The city's plan is to bring single men into the facility once they arrive in the main Manhattan bus terminal and to house them there for a period of days while determining next steps, officials said. Families with children are being housed in a hotel. We needed a different type of operation that gave us the time and space to welcome people, provide them a warm meal, shower, place to sleep, and understand their medical needs to really then work with them to figure out what is their next step going to be, said Emergency Management Commissioner Zach Iskall. And by next step, of course, they mean finding a way to go back and charter them out to a much, much redder area than what New York City is. CBS New York political reporter Marsha Kramer got a tour of the facility on Tuesday and said the vast tent complex was built to withstand everything from heat to cold to 90-mile-an-hour hurricane-strength winds. I want to tell the migrants that New York City is doing the best that we can to make sure that we're welcoming them. We're doing it in a way that is loving and caring, the city's deputy mayor, Ann Williams-Issam, told CBS New York. Williams-Issam said her family came to the U.S. as immigrants, and she felt important to afford those being bused to the city. Oh, calendar alert. Dignity. It means a lot to me. My mom is turning 92 on Thursday, and I think she's very proud of what she's been able to do to have access to the American dream, she told CBS New York. I feel like I'm honoring her in the work that we're doing. New York City's homeless shelter system is now bursting with more than 63,300 residents. While there are fewer families in the shelters now than there were in the years before the pandemic, the number of single men has soared since the spring, largely because of the influx of migrants. There were more than 20,000 single adults in the shelter system on Monday, up 23% from the nightly average in July. So, there you go, and that is your barracks. Wouldn't it be easier, by the way, if, especially if you're doing a system like that, to bunk them up? You could fit twice as many people in there. It wouldn't fill up so fast. You know, go to Wayfair and grab a few... Oops. No, we can't say that on YouTube. And grab a few bunk beds along with the other thing that you purchased that's probably illicit. Bunk them up. The white plastic wall tents include a space where migrants can meet with caseworkers to determine their next steps, as well as a rec room with televisions, video games, and board games. In the sleeping area, row upon row of green cots stretch out, each one with a pillow, some sheets and a blanket, and some towels. The city will not be able to, said it will be able to double the sleeping capacity of the tents if needed. So, your bunk beds. In recent months, New York City has seen an unexpected increase in migrants seeking asylum in the U.S. who have been sent to the city from other states, including Texas and Arizona. The influx has put a strain on the city's shelter system, leading officials to look for other places to house people and proposing the temporary tent facilities. The tents were initially planned for a far-off corner of the Bronx, but were moved after concerns about flooding and criticism from immigrant advocates over the remote location. Iskall said the Randall's Island location was safe from flooding. So, that is what we see for that. But the Daily Wire has its own criticism of this. NYC unveils new migrant shelter complete with Xboxes, TVs, and couches. From Dylan Burrows. New York has unveiled its new tent shelter for the city's growing migrant population, complete with Xboxes, big screen TVs, and couches. The Randall's Island Humanitarian Emergency Response and Relief Center is set to temporarily house up to 500 single men, bused from the southern border states. The location features 500 cots, along with TV, video games, board games, telephone services, 3 meals a day, along with snacks and coffee for those who stay at the location. The meals are all culturally appropriate. It's South American fare, Emergency Management Commissioner Zach Iskall told reporters on Wednesday. Other assistance at the new facility includes laundry, showers, and lockers for migrants to store personal items. Bus services are also expected at the location with 24-hour security provided. And it, by the way, does look like there is plenty of ways to get a bus in and out of this area. Lots and lots of big roads. The biggest, okay, big roads, biggest roads. Doesn't show on the map where this place is. I'm guessing it's going to be somewhere in here, if I had to guess. Because it looks like this is all occupied. That's a container yard. Maybe there's a park over here. Possibly. It's like a lot of sports parks, like baseball parks around here. We could go on the haunted hayride. Like I would ever be able to get into New York City. They would meet me at the Jersey Bridge and they would say, no, you're not allowed here. You think too freely. After declaring a state of emergency, New York City unveils shelter for single adult men, illegal migrants with couches, TVs, Xboxes, and 24/7 food and drink. The meals are all culturally appropriate. It's from South American fare, Zach Iscall says, and Benny Johnson quote tweets this and says, "Oh my God, the criminal migrants live better than the people in New York City." Let's listen.
If you're a single adult man, you're going to come here to this facility starting tomorrow.
When migrants first walk in after intake, they will see a recreational room set up with rows of couches, TVs, Xboxes, and board games. There will also be a phone bank so migrants can connect with family in order to find more permanent housing.
We can do that in 24 hours, maybe even less. Many times, it's going to take longer than that. It could take days.
Next, there is a cafeteria that will provide migrants with 3 meals a day, and snacks, coffee, and tea will be available 24/7.
Those meals are all culturally appropriate. It is South American fare. The menu rotates on a regular basis.
If you're a single adult man, you're going to come here to this facility starting tomorrow.
When migrants first walk...
Man, I wish I could have an Xbox. My newest console is a GameCube that the Laserdisc doesn't read anymore. But, you know, coveting is a sin, so maybe I shouldn't. Alright, and the last one, and then we'll do live chat for the day, because I actually do have to pop out of here, like, really quick. But I wanted to make sure I covered this, because this is incredibly based. I don't know if this is anywhere by Random Randy.
Well, the Cherokees.
It's coming from a Des Moines based, which I don't know if he's anywhere by Des Moines, I guess. But it's coming from a Des Moines based outlet, so I don't know. He would have to answer that, if it's anywhere close to him or not. Iowa School District to allow some staff members to carry on campus. No author given. The Western Iowa School District of Cherokee voted to allow some staff members to carry guns on campus. Previously, only law enforcement officials were allowed to bring weapons on campus. The new policy would allow school employees selected by the admin to also carry weapons. All staff with a weapon will take part in monthly training. No one wants guns in schools, but we want bad guys with a gun even less, Superintendent Kimberly Lingenfelter said. And the board has taken a very measured and serious approach to the challenge of keeping students and staff safe and staff. The district will start an oversight committee to review how this new policy is used. In August, the Spirit Lake School Board voted to allow 10 staff members selected by the superintendent to carry guns in their schools. And that's all the information that we have on that. But I'm going to say right off, that's pretty based. Now, this says this is Western Iowa, probably close to Nebraska. Most likely in a place where there's not going to be any sort of gun violence or somebody coming in to do a school shooting, because all of them good old boys will come out there and if he tries to do something, they'll just carry him off. And in a place that's probably got good values in. I mean, it's a good preemptive way to go and do things, but this is the kind of place where I wouldn't expect to see something like this happen. It's a good precedent to say, yes, we can do this without any problems. I would go on and remind everybody again that the best way to implement this, especially if you think that you are in a place that's at a risk of a school shooting, would be to make sure that nobody knows who the teachers are. So if, God forbid, the worst should happen, that person's got to be running through the halls with his government issue AR-15. I mean, the AR-15 that he just happened to buy from the gun store right before doing all this on his 18th birthday. Has to go down the hall and wonder, does Mr. Smith have a gun? Is he one of them? Does Miss Jones, is she one of them here? Where can I go? Oh man, is Mr. Johnson safe? I don't know. If I go down this hall, am I going to get shot? Rather than giving the person a big roadmap as to where the 10 staff members are going to be, who they are, and playing which hall is safe and which one is dangerous. But I do think this is a step in the right direction. Alright, it is 9:10. We gotta head out of here for the day. But before we do that, the last thing we do on Friday is we make sure and we look at some of the live chat, some of what you guys are saying. So, it's been a slow day today. But we still have to make sure that we see what you guys are saying. And I did reset everything, so we didn't see Arvolt reminding me that I didn't have the music on when we started off here. But let's have a look at what happened through the week. It actually was a pretty busy week this week. On the week, this week, on Monday, our top chatters were Ron Helton, A Gaines P, Scooby 2, Randy Crush Saga, Job for 9, Arvolt, 80s Kids, Seawall was here briefly. I think it was a holiday on Monday, wasn't it, that he was off. Horatius was here and Quest Fanning. On Tuesday, we had Ron Helton, A Gaines P, Arvolt, 24, Quest Fanning, MK Ultra, Horatius, Randy Crush Saga, and Harvey McLeod. On Wednesday, our top chatters were Ron Helton, Horatius, Job for 9, Terrace Sultanania, A Gaines P, Randy Crush Saga, and 80s Kid rather. That'd be kind of based if you had 80 kids though. Yesterday, we had Ron Helton, Randy Crush Saga, A Gaines P, Quest Fanning, Horatius, Harvey McLeod again, Arvolt 24, and S. Giraffe asking if I was a communist. I am not a communist. In fact, I abhor all aspects of communism. I don't think that there should be anything out for the greater good. What happened today? Ron Helton is here. Morning, Arvolt. Quest Fanning is here. Scooby 2 is here. Welcome, 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 welcome. Thank you for coming by, dropping by. Ron Helton says it's $3.74 for 100% gas where he is. Do you... Because I know you say you've got an older Suburban. You're not putting premium in that, are you? You shouldn't be. You'd probably get way better gas mileage if you went down to regular unleaded. Arvolt is here. It says, that blows my mind that you have to have a license to own a firearm, and a license to carry, and a license to carry the ammunition. Yeah, they like their fees and licensures in Washington, D.C. And when they do the gun grab, they want to know where every single one of those firearms is, too. Randy Crush Saga is here. Quest Fanning says, wow, the pound had been about $1.50 for the longest time. Had ranged up to $1.90 for a while, a decade ago. I didn't know that. But I've just started learning more about international finance lately, as I got more and more initiated into politics and geopolitics especially. I might be able to run for president and form a coherent foreign policy at this point. because I'm starting to learn how it all works and where the alliances are and where they're not, and who stabbed us in the back and who hasn't, and who stabbed us in the back and our neoconservative and neoliberal friends in Congress still continue to support. A Gaines P is here with the J. Edgar Globe. Thank you for that. Ron Helton says, I had a friend who predicted the pound would go up. He exchanged dollars for pounds and increased his money by 30%, based, then converted it back into dollars. Gaines says, I remember when being extreme was a good thing back in the 90s. They made a sport out of it. Yeah, I still like to watch it. Most Extreme Sports Challenge, MXC. I still enjoy that. Account number over on DLive, that's a new name over here, says, gives DLive thumbs up. Bet you if I went over into the DLive side, I could probably see those DLive thumbs up. Yeah, there we go. Account number just followed too. Thank you. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Randy, he was probably saluting Corn Pop. Arvolt, my favorite song. Gaines, where's Jackie? Quest Fanning and Gaines talking about the neck lump. Restrictions on restrictions. Hey, read Roe versus Wade, man. Read it, fat. MK Ultra's here. Can't do that one, Quest Fanning. We do still have an AM radio audience, and I have slipped in the past week. With full admission, excuse me. AUC. MK likes the impression. I still remember the video we watched yesterday where it literally sounded like AOC was doing my impression of AOC. Sandwiches. Gaines says they started flashing lights to make people leave like a bar closing at the end of the night. I haven't closed a bar in a while. I didn't drink for a while. I do occasionally still now, but I really don't. I don't have time. Every time I drink, I way oversleep. So I don't do it anymore. Quest says, refreshing to hear anyone in DC say they don't have the authority. Yeah, that evil Trump justice. She's just going to block everything that Biden does, and she's going to do the evil thing. Quest says, what about being welcoming to non-interlopers, those who've invested time and money here? I don't know. It's probably easier to go buy votes. Horatius says, been listening. See you all in a little while around Monday. Welcome, Horatius. So the one Irish guy gets his own chef. Gaines says, free helicopter rides for commies. And we finish out with Horatius says, doing something for the greater good would have been for people to stop the commies from seizing the institutions of power. Well, unfortunately, that's how government works. And also, especially, and one of the things that I've theorized about this, and I really don't have a lot of time to go on a rant right now, but you know me, I'm going to do it anyway. One of the big problems with this is the fact that under the boomers and under the silent generation, yeah, they didn't want the government intervention. But as the baby boom went forward, some of the baby boomers towards the end were really into the government protection. You know, I've heard my mom talk about, you know, I keep hearing these people talk about the other guy. They never talk about what they're going to do for me. And I just keep thinking to myself, and I said this to Samurai Apocalypse yesterday, it was the day before yesterday. I had said that she asked the question, if you're a single issue voter, what's that issue? And I said, I will vote for literally whoever has the most comprehensive plan and the ability to implement said comprehensive plan to leave me the hell alone. But I've noticed as things keep going further and further down, as things keep falling further and further into it, the idea is more of, cradle to grave care. These kids don't want to grow up. You look at the fact that there's such a thing as an adult Happy Meal right now. My generation doesn't want to grow up. They have no idea. They don't want to be out in the real world. They want somebody to take care of them. They want to eat the Happy Meal, play with the toy, and not have to think about it. This has been a gripe of mine for a very, very long time. Ever since the first time I saw a meme on Facebook saying, "Yeah, this adulting sucks. Give me a coloring book and a juice box." And I'm like, dude, you're 25. You have 2 kids. Grow the French toast up. I couldn't wait to grow up, and I still, even as much hell as I had to go through when I lived in Kenosha, as much hell as I had to go through there, I wouldn't have traded that for having somebody take care of me for anything. Because when that person takes care of you, you have to abide and live by their rules. You don't bite the hand that feeds you. I don't want to be taken care of. So my answer to that was whoever has the comprehensive plan to leave me alone. I don't want the government to do for me. So with that, we're done. Before I get into the rant, I actually do, like I say, I've got to jump off because I have an appointment at 9:30. So we're going to head out of here for the day. Wish we could have got more done, but trying to do something to make sure that I don't have to be taken care of in the future. We've got the Zelda medley. By the way, I don't know if Sully's listening, if he's lurking right now, but I took Sully's advice, and when we're done with Mass Effect, which I don't know how long that's going to be because I've never played Mass Effect, I have no idea how long I'm actually expected to be playing into that game, but when we are done with Mass Effect, I will be playing A Link to the Past by special request from both Sully Blue, and Midget B also wants to see me do that one too, so I actually have an Amazon link open on my left window, so we can get it. I'm going to play it. I'll be playing on a computer, but I'm going to play it on an actual modeled, not an actual one, but a modeled after Super Nintendo controller too. So that'll be coming here in the near future. Definitely looking forward to that. I love that game. Love to share that with you, and we've got the Zelda music going here. But yeah, I gotta head out of here. There it is. All right, well, with that, we are done. So thanks everybody who came by and chatted today and through the week as well. Everybody who came out and kept us on point, kept us on topic and going here. I do have to jump out of here like really quick, like right now. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on the outro. So we'll be back here on Monday for more news, more headlines, and more contemporary. May or may not be a game stream on Monday. I may be doing a follow-up with what I'm about to deal with my appointment for. So there's probably not going to be one on Monday. There will be one on Saturday. We'll do that on Saturday. We'll play some Mass Effect on Saturday. We'll see how much further we can get with that. I'm hoping, like I say, not to spend a whole year on Mass Effect like I did with Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. But regardless of that, yeah, we'll be back here for that and back here for Contemporary on Monday. No matter what, there will be Contemporary on Monday. So definitely looking forward to that. And we will see you here next time. I've got to head out of here for the day. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Thanks, Gaines, for the last-minute vote of confidence because his affiliate Libertarian candidate meeting on Thursday and says they expect to take double digits in the State House. So that's always good news, too. Let's see, who can we raid today? Give you an idea who we're going to be raiding instead of just voicing it on you at the very end. Cowboy Strong. We'll be watching Cowboy Strong do Red Dead. So join us for that if you're on the Twitch side. Otherwise, Cowboy Strong do Red Dead. Oh, shit, that's me. I hear my voice. All right, and we're out of here for the day. Thanks, everybody. Take care. We'll see you next time on Contemporary. And until then, I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.